even though when children have sickle cell, they get other stuff as well too. A lot of times people think it's just, I'm like, but he has sickle cell. And I'm like, what else is he gonna get? Any part of your body, every organ can and would be affected in any situation.
Every life is built from ordinary moments, mornings that begin quietly, familiar places, time spent with friends, family, and the people who matter most. From the outside, these moments can look just like anyone else's life. But for some, behind these everyday routines is a reality most of the world never sees. A reality shaped by pain that can appear without warning, by hospital visits that interrupt daily life, and by a condition that lives quietly inside the blood. For many, the journey began long before they understood what was happening. Questions without clear answers, until one day, everything changed with a single moment. The moment they finally received a diagnosis, a moment that would shape the rest of their lives.
My name is Daniel. I'm 15 years old, and I love to play basketball, and I also love to watch basketball.
Daniel's journey started when I got a call from Sick Kids mid-October, towards the end of October, stating that Daniel tested positive for sickle cell anemia. So I didn't really know what sickle cell was. I just, kind of took my computer and I started to Google. And then I called his dad and told him, they're pretty positive that it is a positive, because there's sometimes false positives and false negatives, but they were pretty sure his levels were really high. So they told me to take him to the doctor to get checked out. And they were trying to call me for a few weeks. And at that time they called private. So I had blocked private numbers. So they happened to leave a voice message that day. And that made me wait till, his dad came home, and we kind of walked him to the doctor and to just make sure he was okay, like clinically okay. And then probably the week after, it started our journey at Sick Kids. So he was at Sick Kids 3 weeks old, and he started doing blood work. I started doing blood work, and because his dad just got that job, he had a lot of time taken off already with Daniel's difficult journey with his birth. So he was full term, but he was overdue, and there was some fetal distress where his heart stopped. And from about 7 a.m. to about 10 p.m., they were trying to jumpstart labor, and his heart stopped many times, and they had to resuscitate it. So by 10 p.m. on October 5th, when he was born, they decided we can't do this anymore, and we had an emergency C-section, and I didn't see him until like the next morning. They were just checking him out, and everything turned out well until, he had jaundice, he had phototherapy, we stayed extra days in the hospital, but, when we thought we passed one hurdle, then you get the call from Sick Kids, and you Google, and Google doesn't look very promising. You always say don't go on Google, but at that time, that's all you really had. There was no ChatGPT or any of that stuff. So at that point, I knew it would be a long, difficult journey.
He was actually misdiagnosed at first. They had thought it was biliary atresia, and then sort of had the operation, which was the Kasai operation. But it didn't work because it wasn't the right diagnosis. And then we found out several months later that he had Alagille syndrome, which it affects the 5 different parts of the body. So like the eyes, the lungs, the heart, and liver. So he only experienced the liver of the ducts being closed or non-existent, and then basically sort of went on the journey to sort of supporting the liver disease and the Alagille syndrome with like sort of we had to change like our whole like the diet, and because he wasn't absorbing fats.
Avery is our fourth child, and at 4 months old, he became really ill with a fever, a really high fever that wouldn't go away. We took him to our local hospital, and the doctors there just said, it's flu season, he has the flu. I had the flu at the time, and so they thought that that's what he was sick with. But days passed, and even with medication like Tylenol to bring his fever down, as soon as the Tylenol wore off, his fever would shoot right back up again. And eventually, we got concerned enough to go back to the hospital, and they finally ran blood tests, and the blood tests determined that he was very ill. His blood was not doing well. And immediately they called the Hospital of Sick Children. And when the Hospital of Sick Children received his blood tests, they determined that Avery needed to be transported there immediately. And so we were driven there by ambulance right away. And that very night, we found out that Avery was in critical condition. And they didn't know what it was, what that was wrong with him, but they knew that something was very wrong. And we soon came to find out that Avery had a rare genetic disorder, which is called hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis, HLH for short. And that disease basically is very similar to cancer in that the white blood cells begin to attack the healthy cells in the body. And Avery's cells were out of control. And so in order to bring those cells under control, they had to start with chemotherapy right away. He also had to get a number of blood transfusions. He also had to be on various medications, including steroids, to bring his body under control. And we found out that while chemotherapy was a temporary solution for his disease, that ultimately he would need a bone marrow transplant. So that's how it started.
After the diagnosis, life continues, but often in a very different way. Many people learn to navigate daily routines while managing a condition that can affect the body in unpredictable ways. Simple activities that others rarely think about can sometimes require extra planning, patience, and strength. Some days feel almost normal. Other days bring challenges that can appear suddenly and without warning.
So, sickle cell disease, for those that don't know, it's a very debilitating, painful disease. It's mainly characterized by those painful pain crises. And I think my life was pretty much living life on red alert, ready for when those crises would kind of come. So I had a really awesome childhood, I would say. My parents did, and my family members did an amazing job at trying to make sure that I felt normal, that I felt like every other kid. But the truth of the matter is, when my sickle cell would come, it would remind me yeah, you're not normal. And that's when my life would basically have to go on pause. And it's just dealing with this pain crises. I'm not going to school, I'm not talking to my friends, I'm barely communicating with my family. And it really is just like a fight till I can get through the pain and my health can kind of come back to normal. And so I think with such a severe illness, it really was very difficult on my family, because they're afraid of just letting their child just be a kid, play, go to swimming lessons, run, jump. Those things were oh my gosh, is she gonna get sick? Are we gonna have to spend days in the hospital? So whilst I wanna say I had the most normal childhood and it was regular, it really revolved around making sure I didn't end up in hospital.
Living with sickle cell has been very struggling, mainly because with sickle cell, it's very random. You don't know whenever you're gonna have a pain crisis. And for that instance, it's a lot of events being missed, school time being missed. For example, birthday parties can be missed because I don't know when I'm gonna have a pain crisis, or just going out. But as time goes and I get older and I grow, like I learn how to manage my sickle cell anemia more and better. On tough days, I just like relaxing and taking naps, like if I'm able to, if the pain isn't too intense. But my mom also helps me on these days. I like going to my mom for comfort and for help. She does help, and it does like help me.
I remember having a major fever. I was very hot. What I remember is that I was in my mom's and dad's bed, and then I said I was really hot, and they put on the fan, but that wouldn't even cool me down. And then my dad was getting downstairs to give me some Tylenol, and I was just pacing back and forth through the hallway upstairs where our bedrooms are. When I knew that I'd have to stay in the hospital for quite a long time, I felt okay, but like I didn't really want to go to the hospital because I wanted to go with my family to Jamaica to see my grandmother.
Over time, people learn to adapt, finding ways to continue building their lives while living with a condition that remains part of their everyday reality. Living with a chronic blood condition often means developing a close relationship with the healthcare system. Many patients rely on medications, regular monitoring, and hospital visits to manage symptoms and prevent complications.
For me, I moved to Canada in 2009 when I was turning 13 years old. So I lived in Nigeria for 12 years of my life. And so, of course, I was 12 years old while in Nigeria. I was a kid, about to be a teenager. I didn't really care much about my body and how sickle cell was affecting it. I left that to my parents. And so my mom was specifically in charge of making sure I was alive and well. And thank God, bless her soul, she's a lawyer. She did a lot of research and found that nutrition was actually a good way in reducing inflammation in sickle cell warriors, which could eventually decrease the amount of sickle cell crisis they have. So I remember taking everything in the book. Every healthy food you could think of, I ate it. I did cod liver oil, multivitamins, folic acid, I drank. And growing up in Nigeria, anytime I got into a crisis, because there's so much stigma around sickle cell warriors, they're often seen as frail and weak. And so it was pretty much my parents and I against the rest of the world. Nobody knew I was sick whenever I was sick, and that theme of loneliness was what also was carried into Canada. I would say in Nigeria, because again, I was quite young, and thank God my parents were well off, so I went to really good hospitals. So I didn't really see that discrimination or, made to wait for a very long time in the ER. I didn't really recognize things like that. Once again, I was very young. However, transitioning into Canada in 2009, now the climate change alone knocked me out. The cold, I got sick a lot of the time. And just imagine someone who's young, a teenager, leaving something, somewhere she knew for a very long time and moving to a different country. So the stressor of the move, the fact that I was now, in high school trying to make new friends, the cold climate. So all those things actually impacted my care when I moved to Canada. I did get sick quite a lot.
Throw up consecutively for many years. So we started treatment June of 2022 with a rheumatology doctor, and we finished in about 2023, 2024. He was just getting too sick and his body was just rejecting it. He would just throw up instantly. So I had to battle sickle cell, and then they diagnosed him with sarcoidosis at that point. So now he no longer takes this low dose chemotherapy drug called methotrexate. The kids online Google it, the puke drug. And I see why, because you puke instantly. So his body was used to it, but after a while, as his body started to reject it, all he would do was throw up. So they give it to you on a Friday, and then They give it to the kids on a Friday because you feel sick. So they give them 2 days to feel sick, and then they're going to be well enough for school on Monday. So when I started giving it to him, he threw up. So I didn't Google because I realized what Google was, but I would kind of force it down his throat and not realizing he's gagging. So I would give him ice cream every Friday. He got sick of ice cream. He doesn't eat yogurt anymore because when he was smaller, he would have to take yogurt for his medicine. So at that point, he got sick of ice cream. What kid gets sick of ice cream, right? It was every Friday for months, and then they switched from oral to subcutaneous. So then I had to figure out how to inject him with this methotrexate. So even though when children have sickle cell, they get other stuff as well too. You can have sickle cell, you can have cancer with sickle cell, you can have sarcoidosis, you can have diabetes, you can have osteoporosis, you can have all these things. So a lot of times people think it's just, I'm like, but he has sickle cell. And I'm like, what else is he gonna get? So people don't realize that you can have other issues with sickle cell, and because it's a blood disorder, it can affect you from your head down to your toes. Any part of your body, every organ can and would be affected in any situation.
There are moments of relief, but also moments of uncertainty. Times when pain or fatigue can interrupt work, school, or family life. Through it all, patients, families, and medical teams work together to find ways to manage the condition and improve quality of life. While treatments can help manage symptoms, many patients continue searching for something more. The possibility of lasting healing.
I remember, for example, there was a time where it was actually for an infusion treatment that was happening, and they struggled to find a vein. All the nurses at the outpatient clinic tried, and then they were like scared of like hurting me. And at that point, it was just like mentally taxing to see that like there's so many people are trying, they're trying to help me, and it's like I couldn't be helped. And I remember hearing a nurse refer to me as a hard start. She was like, she's a hard start. And then that's a term that I didn't know what it meant, but obviously when you hear that, it sticks with you. And I remember it stuck with me, and even throughout, like there were like other infusion treatments where I would hear it. I would still hear that term, and I knew that they were referring it to me. And so I decided to write about it. I decided to write about what does it mean to be a hard start, the difficulty of even hearing that, but also like how can I reframe this as a way for me to regain a level of dignity that I feel like I was stripped of when someone called me hard start. And so it was my way of like getting my power back.